Chad Williams and Ben Lovebro here, and I'm Andrew Lucas in Columbia. And we wanted to just jump on today to talk about the real estate market in Columbia. So we can't get together for REI Live. We're not allowed to get within 6 feet of each other. So this is going to be our new normal for a little while. But in order to get the communication out there and get the information out there to people in our market on a broader scale, this Zoom call with the live Facebook feed has been really, really good. It's been really helpful. So I'm going to do this, and Ben, I'm going to share this in your group too, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the name of it? I don't see it.
Flip Connect Media.
I'm looking for you. You might have to go and do it. I don't see it for some reason.
Let me see.
Oh, found it. All right. So anyway, guys, we are live. And Chad, what's your primary business?
Right now, it's real estate sales. Real estate sales, commercial, residential, land, investment.
Got it. Okay. And Ben, what would you say is your primary business right now?
That's a tough one. I'd say we're standing between wholesaling and fix and flips. I mean, we got 4 rehabs out at the moment. I'm considering buying one more. One's under contract. One hit the market today, and I think one will be finished up next week. I'm just trying. I think in these times, it's important to make sure that we kind of iron those numbers a little bit lower, just to be safe. You know.
Right. So, guys, this is a good group. I wanted to make sure we had kind of different perspectives of the market so we can really dial in and try to give a good perception of what's happening. So if you're on Facebook, you can write comments into this feed, and hopefully I'll be able to see them and answer questions if we have them. And if not, you can text me. If you got a question, we'll do it that way. So, guys, our primary business really, the base of our business is our rental property portfolio, and then fix and flip, and then wholesale. So we do a little bit of each piece of that. So let's get into it, guys. Chad, are you selling anything?
Yeah, actually, last week was a good week. Stayed fairly steady. Traffic this week it's been surprising, but you do have to think that, I mean, certainly we've seen a little bit of a slowdown, and you do have to think, you know, if you're going to be realistic, that more is coming, given what we're going through. But the market as a whole, man, I mean, especially anything like 225 and under, still getting a lot of showings, you know, a lot of activity. Starting to see the higher end market slow a little bit, though. You can definitely notice that, but that's been coming for a while, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, the higher end has been pushing up, and it's seen a nice run for a little while, but we kind of knew it was going to have a little bit of a slowdown. We didn't know when. But
yeah, and everything's sort of in flux right now too. So there's a lot of mitigating factors to it. But you know, it's been good, man. The last couple of weeks, I certainly nothing worth complaining about.
Yeah. So Ben, how about you? Are you still fixing flipping? Have you sent all your crews home?
Yeah. So I guess, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. You know, and you always get smacked in the face right at the opportune time. You know. I thought we'd have one more good run, and I think we still have some solid months in that, piggybacking off of Chad's comment. But yeah, we have 2 full-time crews at the moment, man. I've kind of scaled the rehab division, and I got 2 project managers, if you will, or team leaders, whatever you want to call them. And we're trying to keep at least, you know, 2 projects going around the clock. Buyer activity, I don't feel like we've seen too much of a slowdown, you know, of course a little bit. I know the banks are tightening up, and I think when it comes down to it, that's going to be one of the large determining factors as to how much of a slowdown we really experience, you know, because I think that the minimum credit score before was like, what, a 600, 620, and now for the FHA loans, they're jumping up to like 680, you know, so of course it's going to squeeze some of the somewhat less qualified buyers out of the market. And, you know, obviously when everyone is panicking and there's blood in the streets, there's going to be a greater or equal reaction with the market, right?
Yeah.
So I think just being able to see that coming, you know, and being prepared for it. I think this being a little different than 2008, 2009, you know, real estate was the cause of the crisis, you know, and now at least we're kind of able to have foresight into what's coming, you know?
Right.
But I think we'll see a little impact. I mean, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah. Well,
For sure.
yeah, there's definitely going to be an impact. I mean, there's definitely impacts now. One of the things that we are seeing is there's a lot of fear around the 1st of April, who's going to pay their rent, who's going to pay their mortgage. So far, just from what we're hearing and what we're seeing, the rent collection is not it's not that far off that it's going to cause massive shutdown of the economy. So rents are getting paid this month. You know, that's kind of the indicator. That's what it looks like from our rent, from other people we've talked to across the country. So that's a positive thing. That was kind of the fear, was like, is anybody going to pay rent? And if they don't pay rent, or landlord's going to pay their mortgage, and so on and so on. So far that's okay. And guys, have you seen all the SBA loans, all the federal help that's out there? Do you guys see that being beneficial for real estate?
Absolutely. I think it's huge if you have the ability to capitalize on it. You know, I think that process, just like unemployment, is stacked up to the max. You know, tons of small business owners. It's kind of what America's built its economy on.
Yeah.
But I think with the right mindset and resources to apply for those, it can be a huge leverage tool for those that have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
If you haven't looked into it so far, you definitely need to. It's a lot of information, a lot of things in flux, and there's a lot of people already going down that road and going after it. And to Ben's point, there's benefits there for sure.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, the Fed. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I was just going to say that opportunity is there for that small business person, and the reason I bring it up is because real estate professionals, you know, if you're full-time, obviously this is your job, but even when you're part-time, and if you're doing enough in real estate and you have a business, you can support yourself. You know, you can help support that business during this difficult time. One thing that we've told a couple people is, look, we have no idea what the impact's going to be for the next month or 2 or 3 or 4, but you got to get in line with this SBA stuff. So get to the forms, fill them out. If you don't qualify, they're going to tell you. If you get to the end when you're finally talking to somebody and you don't need the money, you can tell them no. But we suggest go ahead and filling out the forms, get started. What are you going to say, Ben?
That's great.
What's that, guys?
I was just saying, you were about to say something about the Fed.
Oh, so yeah, with the Fed, I mean, basically, the Federal Reserve is handing out money for free, basically. We've never seen this in our economy's history, right, where the banks are able to get almost unlimited amounts of funds at 0% interest, right? So there's never been a greater incentive for the banks to lend money, right? So government obviously sees this as a huge deal, right? Like we're talking big time things. Like our economy has never experienced a shutdown of this magnitude, right? I mean, you go back to the Great Depression and that had a different face, right? But literally from everything being gravy, you know, the wheels turning and really pumping into that bull market, just to cut it off completely is just, I mean, I think the effects are going to be devastating for years to come. So obviously the government steps in and provides opportunity to try to at least help those that are stepping out and trying to figure out solutions. And I think just a key point that I've realized in the journey is that, you know, there's always an answer to whatever situation you're going through, right? And it's not that successful people have any less problems, right, than the average American, but they just ask better questions. And as a result, they're able to find better solutions for whatever they might be going through.
Yeah, great point.
Well said. And in addition to the loans, you know, for independent contractors and other types of employment, there's grant money out there that's available. So, you know, they're definitely stepped in and are trying to do the best they can to help. And like Ben said, it's needed.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we're talking about from our perspective with tenants is being not just a landlord, just telling them, hey, you owe rent, but hey, what help do you need help? Can we help? Here, we're a partner in this. Like you're renting from us, but this is a partnership, right? You pay the bill, we pay the bill, whatever it is. And offering to connect tenants with those resources. So, you know, you said there's grant money. There's some local municipalities giving grant money to help people pay rent. There's people that are helping with small businesses and that sort of thing. So the unemployment office, if you talk with your tenants, and this goes with your contractors as well as independent contractors, let them know that you can help and you can show them where those resources are. That's going to be a huge benefit in your sphere of your business. So whether it's a tenant, a contractor, or even a buyer, if you've got a buyer that's ready to buy your house, but then this thing happens and their financing is messed up, it's going to be the people that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to go out and try to help and help the next person in their market. So
absolutely. And, you know, to your homeowners out there and whatnot, Andrew, or, you know, if anybody's having issues or some uncertainty in regards to their personal finances, you've got a government-backed loan. There's forgiveness for that going on as well. I'm sure it's a pretty difficult process, but, you know, definitely read up and heard people discussing that. So, you know, if you need that help, it's out there too.
Well, the good thing is
I think the biggest
what the government's given is an opportunity to keep the wheels turning, guys. So this is a tangent off of real estate, but it's just a philosophy, I guess. But we can't sit at home and hoard resources. We got to be out. We got to be spending. You may not be sitting in a restaurant, but we have to spend money as an economy, as a people, so that our civilization can keep turning. So, you know, government's helping put money into pockets, making people feel that they can, or giving them, if they've lost their jobs, giving them the opportunity to actually continue to spend. That spending means, you know, paying your bills, which would be, you know, rent or credit cards or car payments, whatever it is. All that keeps the economy moving. So that's what the government's helping with, and I think it's very important right now for sure to keep real estate moving. So I want to pivot off of that and just let people know that REI Live Columbia, we've gone through, looked at a lot of the forums, and we're not an advisor, but I can tell you it's easy enough that anybody can follow through those forums. They're just like the FEMA forums from when we had the flood, you know. So get in there if you think you might need assistance. So I'll just give that to you. And there are companies that will help you do that. So it's there for you. But back to
expect delays.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. Get in line.
Yeah.
Go ahead now.
Expect to wait. It's not going to be quick.
There's 6 million plus applications for unemployment right now, just sitting there.
Yeah.
And you think about the manpower and the systems and processes that they somewhat had in place for, you know, a lower structure, lower magnitude. But again, employment's never seen anything like this. You know, small business associations never going to see the amount of loans coming across their desk. So obviously the resources are there, but we also have to be prepared for the delay that it's going to take in order to push those things out there. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a business. Just government is a business, just like anything else. And in order to accommodate, you know, certain types of growth, there's got to be processes in place. And there's going to obviously be some growing pains, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Be ready to wait. Be patient.
And stay positive throughout all this as much as you can as well. Yeah. I think that's a huge factor. I mean, this isn't, you know, these are definitely unprecedented times. It's definitely a huge event in our lifetimes and in the history of our country and the world. But, staying positive, to your point, getting out and doing what you can, be a part of the economy, seek and search out all the opportunities that you can for help and to help others. Just stay positive, man. We need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and believe it's possible.
So
Huge opportunities.
That's right. And sorry to cut you off there, but what I wanted to mention is, guys, this is going to be this economy, this change, this shakeup is going to be one of the big separators, and we'll look back on this on history. It's going to be one of those things that businesses, companies, individuals, states, and countries are going to. It's all going to be shifted. Whoever's on top might go to the bottom might go to the top. It's going to like start over with a clean slate. And what we're trying to get out to people in the Columbia market, the REI Live community, investors here, people that are looking to get started, is you want to be the one that when this whole thing gets shooken up, and you want to rise to the top as someone that is in this business and succeeding. So success is going to look different than it ever did. It'll look different for each person. But Chad, how can you or somebody like you, an agent or something like that, how can you in this time set yourself apart and potentially grow your business right now, but at least be ready for growth when this kind of subsides?
I think first and foremost right now, is being compassionate, being willing to listen, given what everybody's sort of going through. Everybody's got a different story. Everybody's in a different spot, given their financial circumstances, health-wise, whatever they've got going. So I think being willing to listen, being part of the solution, and then just keeping a pulse on the market, because everything's in flux and it's going to be in flux for the foreseeable future. So being open to that and being ready to being malleable. How about that? Being willing to accept that change and to try to understand it and find those opportunities, because there is opportunities out there, and there's going to be more to come. It's just a matter of sticking your nose to the grindstone, and being open-minded enough to find them, man. There's a lot of landlords out there that, to your point earlier, wondering how rent's going to come down the pipe, how much they're going to get. With the eviction sort of being paused, there's a lot of questions there. With the fluctuating rates, and it keeps going up and down. I mean, if you look last week, up above 4, and then a day later it's down below 3.75 again. So I mean, in terms of being able to get pre-approved or approved for a mortgage and lock that rate. So you just have to be able to adapt to that and be open and honest to your clients about what you feel like is right, and obviously knowing your local market. You got to be a market expert at this point. There's no need to try to reinvent the wheel there, get into new markets that you don't understand. We're going to have enough changing here, in my opinion, to try to adapt to worry about the rest of it.
That's a great point, Chad. And I'll bring another question around for Ben and the wholesalers, but you made a good point of there's going to be enough change here that you need to pay attention and focus on this market and learn and figure out what's going to shift. So, there might be new neighborhoods that were booming a month ago that now, because all of a sudden there might be stopping construction or interest rates won't make them affordable, change the entire neighborhood. So guys, that's a great point. And that's really what we preach with REI Live Columbia, is it's local and it's live. So we want to be masters of our local market here and try to use that as our bench to succeed. And if we go outside, you do that once you're a master here. That's kind of our philosophy. So Ben, I was going to ask you the same question is, as a fix and flipper or a wholesaler, what can you do right now to help you to potentially come out of this, in the summer or the fall with a leg up, or at least a real firm base so that you can grow?
That's good. I say be ready to pivot. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer as far as it goes. but I think it's definitely a time to look introspectively at your business, to look at your numbers, look at your P&L, and ask yourself how long you can continue to sustain doing what you're doing now. And the answer is most likely going to look a lot different than it did last month, right? So knowing your numbers, I think that's you hear that philosophy a lot within the network, and I would claim that 80% of investors probably don't. I'm going to be quite honest. I don't even know the numbers within my own business to the level that I really should, right? So I think it's just time to really evaluate, tighten up a little bit, look at your marketing, figure out what is converting best, and maybe focus on that and strip away the fat, right? Because of course, in market downturns, cash is king, and you want to make sure that you have enough cash to continue sustaining and to capitalize for what's to come, right? And then just to take that a step further, be ready for a major market disruption, because we're experiencing right now, this is going to be the death of many businesses, but it's also going to be the rise of so many businesses. Yeah. You look at like Uber and Lyft and, Cash App, Venmo, all these huge Airbnb, all these huge companies that rose out of the last recession, right? Right. And now they're like the leaders at the top. But now look at Airbnb. Airbnb is getting smashed because no one is going to vacation rentals. We're locked down, right? No one saw that coming. Nope. So it's just time to really look deep inside of yourself, and then look deep out into the community. Like you were saying earlier, look at the problems that we're currently facing and identify viable solutions on how you can solve those problems and help other people rise out of it, right? Great businesses are solution-based, right? We identify an area, right? Identify a problem, and then we become a tool or a mechanism to help people solve that problem, right? Solutions-based, service-based, and back to what Chad said, compassion-based, right? Truly putting the people that you're called to serve, putting their interests first, right? Being a master and having that solution, but also giving people the tools and empowering them to help them rise up out of it as well. Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to.
That's great. That's a great point. So I can tell you from our perspective is being on the landlord side, we just don't know how much we're affected yet. But I can tell you a lot of what you just said, being malleable, being able to pivot and lead from compassion. That's the way that we're set up to try to get through this, is it's taking care of our good tenants, the residents, whoever's in our properties, taking care of them as the best we can. We still have bills to pay. I mean, you guys know most of our portfolio was built in the BRRRR method. So, most of everything we have has a mortgage, so we have to pay a mortgage, but it's not as much as the rent. So if there's a discount or a 1 month off and we'll get you next month, whatever it is, lead them with compassion to make sure that when this stuff ends, we aren't starting from zero. We don't want to evict 20 people when evictions are allowed again. That's not the point. The point is to get people through this rough patch, set up some sort of policy or whatever procedure so that we can go on and get through it in, say, August or whatever it is, and still be a business that's solvent and ready to jump and grow. So we'll be looking for opportunities, of course, when we get to that point. So that's kind of where we are. And Chad, I wanted to come back to you on the wholesalers. So our group has a lot of new wholesalers, a lot of people that are looking into wholesaling. It became really hot the last few years to be a wholesaler. It might change, right? This could change. But one of the big buyers, or a few of the big buyers here in Columbia, were like hedge fund buyers. And I know you've talked to a few of them. Are they still buying? Have they changed their buy box? Is there something new that the new wholesaler, because that was an easy buy. That was an easy sell for a wholesaler to a hedge fund usually. That's you follow the box and it's sold. What are you seeing with that? And I know, Ben, you probably want to know too.
Yeah, so I mean, everything again. I mean, we keep using the same words here, but you know, it's malleable. You know, it's in flux just like everything. One of the funds, I know as of last week, had really kind of, I think they had canceled contracts and pulled everything due to the uncertainty. And then I heard this week that they're back looking to buy again, but they're wanting to do 70% ARV, right? They're dropping it down from the 80 that they would buy at, which is obviously going to make it a little bit more difficult to fit their buy box, especially here in Columbia, in my opinion. But you know, you wholesalers finding deals out there, they're still moving and shaking. The other hedge fund that I spoke with, they're a little bit further along in their life cycle. They're still buying 12 to 15 properties a month here. And they've kind of figured out that the thing with the hedge funds is it's cyclical, right? It's a life cycle of a fund. So your more established funds, you know, or the ones kind of in that mid cycle, I think are still going to be buying. At least they are here, is what I've been told. They may slow it down a little bit, may get a little bit more selective in terms of the inventory. Whereas some of your new kids on the block within the last year and a half, you know, I think they're a little bit more nervous, right? I think that they're certainly going to be more cautious. You see that sort of buy box and their numbers drop from maybe that 80% to down to 70. It shows you that they're a little worried. And most of these funds, guys, in my experience, the further they get along in this, they're buying to hold to rent. That's what the majority of them are doing, right? They're coming to realize that they're not making as much money on the property management side of the business the further along that they get into it. They actually make money on the buy and the renovation. That's how they're turning that capital, right? Making sure they're buying it right. So I do think there's opportunity for them to keep buying. It's just a matter of when they come to that realization and what the market does. Yeah. If that kind of makes sense.
No, that's perfect. And Freddie's just put a comment or a question for any advice on disposition guys or wholesalers. So I'll jump in and give some advice, and Ben, maybe you can after. But wholesalers, you got to be aggressive. I use that term lightly, not like aggressive like a tiger, but aggressive in your pricing, where you know that there's going to be some play in the market. The market's going to be up and down. It's going to be a little bit soft, where before we could say, oh yeah, absolutely, this is a good, firm, great price for this. The ARV is exactly this. We don't know that right now. So wholesalers, be prepared to factor that in when you're making your offer. Maybe go a little bit lower when you're buying from that seller. Ben, do you have any other suggestions?
I would say, yeah, of course, leave yourself a little bit of extra padding, you know, maybe an extra 10% just to be safe, because obviously hedge funds buy boxes is tightening a little bit. You're always going to have some retail buyers as well, but yeah, structure that 10% padding in. And then for those a little bit more advanced that could bring some creative strategies, now's the time, you know, like if you're comfortable moving forward with subject to deals, right? Or talking about seller finance with good terms in your favor, long-term, right? You can help someone jump out of a situation where maybe they are behind on payments, or maybe, you know, they just can't float whatever their monthly, you know, cash flow sheet's looking like. If you can come in with a creative solution in a down market, that's a great opportunity, because you don't need as much liquid funds up front in order to acquire that property, right? Yep. Which in the long term can be very beneficial if you have the ability and the knowledge to structure that creatively, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's again time to dive deep and, you know, just think about solutions based, and, you know, not just having that one size fits all offer, but having different options for the sellers, right? Different bailout opportunities, or however you want to put that, you know, to position yourself as a credibility figure, but also to identify how you can best serve the people you're called to serve.
Yeah, Ben, that's a great point. I really hadn't thought about it, but subject to and all those, getting creative right now, and that's something I don't I don't tell a lot of people how to do the subject to unless you've done this a few times, because you can really screw up and make a big mess of it. But we literally hit 2 contracts that were signed this week for subject to, and 2 more that the seller has it on their desk. I mean, literally, I got an email from one today, just kind of asking questions. The other guy wants to hand deliver it, so we'll be 6 feet away doing that one. But so that'll be 4 subject twos right now on deals that we could not have done it otherwise, because the numbers are too tight, and there's only one that's in foreclosure, or or behind on payments. They're not in foreclosure. But guys, there's opportunity there.
What's your exit strategy on that, Andrew? I'd be intrigued to hear about what you plan to do on the backside of that.
I believe now there's 4 of them. We might do something different, but the big idea really would be we're going to lease option them out. Do a lease to someone where they have the option to buy it in 3 years. And guys, if you have questions on that, that might be another topic, but basically give that tenant buyer 3 years to buy it. We have 5 years, or actually 2 of them we have until the loan is paid off, which is like 13 on one and 18 on the other. I don't want to go that far, but we could. But we give the tenant buyer 3 years to get their credit in order and, get a loan and pay us out. So we're looking at those all coming right now, and there's opportunity. There's going to be more of those, because who knows what the market's going to do. But getting creative is a great tip.
Just make sure you're well versed.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chad. What were you saying?
I was going to say during the 2008 recession, shortly thereafter, there are a lot of people doing the bond for title owner financing model, given the rise in the rates. So it's definitely something to consider.
Yep.
Always something to consider if you can do it, but just being creative and being willing to change and move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So guys, Ben, Chad, I appreciate your time. I know that everyone in REI Live and the Columbia market appreciates hearing some of this. We don't always have time to sit and watch the whole thing, but I hope that people did take some of this, learn from it, at least pique their interest or ask, so that they're asking the right questions in their own brain. Hopefully some people will reach out to you if they have more questions. But guys, if you're watching this, you can comment below. You can send us a message. We'll be there for you. We are going to, next week on Tuesday, I don't know the time yet, but next Tuesday, we're going to have a couple of property managers on to do the same thing, specifically talking about, did anybody pay rent? And what can we do in the future for landlords? So that's going to be next week on Tuesday. Chad, you got any parting remarks?
I appreciate the opportunity, guys, and I think there's a lot of good food for thought here. One thing we always tend to forget about that Ben brought up is cash is king. So if you're having trouble making some decisions right now, always think about that cash flow first. It's well said with Ben, especially during the downturn, buddy. It means the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ben, any parting remarks?
Yeah, I would say in closing, what you think about expands, right? So you choose to either focus on an obstacle or to focus on the opportunity, right? So are you going to focus on all the craziness, the media, everyone freaking out, and allow that to paralyze your next move? Or are you going to see this as a massive opportunity for you to get out there and change, people's dynamics, to help them get out of complicated situations, and in turn change your family tree, right? So it's, all about the internal beliefs that we have that become our reality, right? So instead of allowing ourselves to be paralyzed by that fear, just step over it with faith, knowing that anything is possible.
Yeah, great point. All right, guys, so that's REI Live Columbia. Again, we're here for you, trying to make sure that we can keep going. Guys, you got to keep the economy turning. If you got a flip that's going like Ben's doing, and we've got 3 or 4 going right now that are almost at the finish line, keep them going, get them finished. The market is still happening. Things are still going. Don't sit on your hands and wait. Don't sit and wait for the government check. Guys, you got to get going. if you want to set yourself apart. So we look forward to you. Love you guys. I appreciate you two jumping on here with us, and go out there and enjoy this beautiful weather today and a great weekend.
Boom. Much love,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
See ya.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.